The oldest year of service we have is 45 with Dr. Gus Cochran. That may not come as a surprise to some people who are watching this, but yeah, he's got a couple trees in his name.
What's the most common species of tree we've had?
So on the main part of campus, kind of what everybody knows is the academic core, Southern Magnolia is the main or most common tree. Campus-wide, once you bring in the other kind of axillary areas, it probably switches to water oak, and about 200 of those 2,000 trees. So roughly 10% of the canopy is made up of water oak, which is a very common tree in our area.
What's the rarest tree we have on campus?
If you mean rare in terms of location, we have an incense cedar on campus that's not very common in the Southeast area. It's very common in places like California, but if you mean in terms of conservation and just general what's obscure and rare in Georgia, we're currently trying to collect all of the native oaks of Georgia, and most of those are either threatened in the wild or just really hard to find, or in a sense rarer in the wild.
It's really great to know that we have like such good diversity of trees on campus and that they're all really, really well taken care of.
The next one is, and this kind of coincides with native plants on campus, but this one is more about fragrant flowers. So are there any ways to plant more of those to attract more pollinators to our community and maybe perhaps have more water stations on campus?
The spot that comes to mind for me that is kind of like a model that I think we could try to emulate elsewhere is the little campus garden behind Bullock that's sort of like co-run by Center for Sustainability and Beach Society simultaneously. There are a lot of like flowering species that aren't meant to be flowers necessarily, that have other products, but a lot of those species planted in the garden are really good sources for nutrients and pollen. But I feel like no matter what time of year it is, I'm able to look around and see at least one flowering species. And that's really, really important. So we might not have, a huge flower garden, but we do often have excellent sources of pollen for our bees. At least what I would like to see, and maybe that can be a project in the coming semester, is focusing on getting some more early blooming species in, like crocuses and snowdrops, tulips, things like that, into some spaces that maybe, could use a little colorful boost somewhere. But generally, we have a lot of flowers actually already. And as far as watering stations go, these are definitely important in the heat of the summer for bees, which is unfortunately when a lot of students aren't around. So it might be hard to like stick one outside of your dorm or something like that. We are hoping also, in addition to having some solitary bee shelter workshopping, we're also hoping to do some little watering stations where we can provide the materials to people, because bees can drown really easily in large or deep puddles. But if you have kind of like a shallow saucer or plate and you're able to fill it with some smaller stones or marbles or something on the bottom to really make sure it's shallow, and then put some floating things on top or things that can elevate them a little bit so they have a place to stand while they're drinking. That can also be a really awesome thing to do around campus, as well as wherever people are now. What kind of tree pruning gets done, and what is tree pruning, and how does it help trees on campus? What are some of the other factors included in that determination?
We've implemented a system where about 4 times a year, we work on a different area of campus pruning the trees. And these have several objectives that kind of define the scope and the work and how it's done. One, we're focused on safety. Are there any dead branches or things that could break or fall, injure anybody? Hopefully not. Damage a building, damage any of the infrastructure. So we're trying to take care of those. The other part of it is preventive. We're trying to prune to correct some of those things from occurring in the future or prevent them from happening in the future. And then finally, we're looking at both safety and aesthetics. We want to be able to have a visible open campus, one that you could walk around in the dark and feel safe. And we want to accentuate the beauty of the architecture and the beauty of the campus. And so we're constantly trying to think about what are these things that we can do to help the trees grow in a safe manner that enhances the beauty of campus and the environmental impact that they have across their lifespan.
So talking about like some really special trees that are on campus, as kind of all students and faculty and staff notice, there are a lot of trees on campus that have plaques that are dedicated to specific individuals. Karina, do you want to kind of elaborate on why that is?
All that is part of our Honor Tree program. It's a programmatic approach to all the markers you see on campus. The Honor Tree program is actually a joint program between the Office of People and Culture, formerly known as HR, and the Center for Sustainability. What happens is every time an employee of the college hits their 25 years of service, they can opt in to have a tree planted in their name. And then every 5 consecutive years after, so when they hit 30, 35, etc., they can have another tree planted in their name. So we have a few people with multiple trees on campus, some with 2 to 3, who have just been with the college for so long and have gotten the tree planted in their name since their 25 years of service. We try to plant the trees as close to, their area of work, but also it depends on the species that, the species that we need on campus and the species that they choose from the list that we're like curating, thinking like, okay, maybe we had a rough storm year with a few hurricanes and we noticed like some areas on campus could use another tree, one that'll grow big and tall. Yeah, we'll think about that. So species, location, and that all plays into where we plant the trees in the end. And it ends up working out really well for the people who are being honored. At the 3rd Friday in February, that's when Georgia's Arbor Day is. And we have like a fun ceremony. We like go around, plant the trees, put the markers in. We also honor retirees. So anyone who was retired from the college and wants a tree planted in their honor for their retirement. We do have some that are related to those that have passed. So those that we call memorial trees and memorialize either a group of people or a person who was affiliated with Agnes Scott. The Honor Tree program has also helped us with our Georgia Native Oaks collection. Since 2019, when we developed the policy, we have the native oaks on the list for people to choose from. The more obscure trees that, we don't have on campus, they're helping us pick what they want and we'll pick where to plant them. So it helps us develop this really cool, like symbiotic, we want to have more and raise awareness of endangered and threatened species in Georgia. And also we want to honor these people who have put in so much time, effort, and like love into Agnes Scott. So it's a cool like collaboration.